Guys, good Wednesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk today. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network, and the Wednesday edition of Real Talk is presented by Ross Mortgage and Scott Mortgage Morris. A lot we're going to cover on today's program, as we usually do on Wednesdays, with an insider of Scott's capabilities. We thank Ross Mortgage for being a part of this program, and today's show is very exciting because one of the members of our panel is an award winner. He's got some hardware on his shelves in his office. Why don't we go to the three-shot and welcome the panel to the program. Actually, two award winners here.
Oh, this is about Scott today, not me.
Well, yours was a bigger award. I mean, I'm not putting down my little
national,
local. Yeah.
No, come on, you're not doing that to our man over here. Keith Smith of the Riz Media Award winner. You could probably get that artwork on screen if you like, Judah Wickower. And then in a matter of moments, we're going to spotlight our friend Scott Morris, who's also an award winner. First, good morning, fellas.
Good morning. Good morning. 71 today. Is that spring? Is that you, baby? We're here for you.
This is that fake time before spring has sprung. You know, that like 14-day period before spring is actually real.
It's a head nod.
Yeah, where we get tricked.
So thanks, guys.
And then March hits, and then we're like, oh, what happened?
You know, don't you know this whole thing is, sometimes it's not good to talk about stuff. So thank you. So tomorrow's going to be like freaking zero. So
Scott is talking it into reality, into the universe.
That's right.
Which is something we do. Now, before we go anywhere, and Tracy Shiflett, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Judah, why don't we go here very shortly on a one-shot. Our star today, Scott Morris, is an award winner. Best of Your Hometown 2022 award winner for Scott Mortgage Morris. Talk to us about that, Scott.
Yeah, so big shout out to everybody in and around the Culpeper area that put together that and helped us vote. We're super excited, especially first year of us being Ross. A lot of you worked with me before, and now we've branded ourselves with an amazing company that's really helping put people in homes and do amazing things. And a big shout out to the Culpeper Star Exponent. I've got the jacket on, ready for you guys to come take some pictures this afternoon. Staff is ready, so we're super excited. And most importantly, big thank you to all of our partners and all of the people that we were able to help who helped us vote.
What's that mean to you?
It really means that we've had the support of the community around us and the people that we help, not just get into homes, but other small businesses in the area. One of the things that we're beginning to do is we're putting together a little group specifically toward highlighting Culpeper small businesses. I've had a lot of really positive feedback from that. And we'll talk more about that going in the future, but we'll be getting it started in the next week. And as far as interviews with other small business owners, and helping other people succeed. That's, I think, what this is all about.
So we've known each other for a very long time. So tell me how it feels to be recognized. How does Scott feel about that?
I've never had a hard time being recognized, Keith.
Scott, neither has Keith. Neither has Keith.
No, I don't know about that. I know you well. I know you well.
For the right things.
I know you well enough to know. This is a little having a good time, but it's humbling, right? It is humbling 100%. to be recognized by your peers, to be recognized by, that, hey, because sometimes you wake up in the morning and you say, am I doing the right, is this working? Am I reaching anybody? Is anybody, am I making the world a better place? And to be recognized like that is a pretty cool, at least for me anyway, it's a pretty cool thing. I don't, maybe there's, just maybe a little bit of a difference on how we're approaching it, but at the end of the day, it's pretty humbling, man. So congratulations, buddy.
Thanks,
to be 1 year, right, in your own shop, and to be recognized like that says you're doing something right.
Well, thank you. I hope so. That's what we wake up and we strive for. But there's I think I've got some Target art hanging in our bathroom that says "Work hard and be nice to people," and that's what we try to do.
Very nice. How about the Culpeper community to you, and what the Culpeper community means to you?
I love the area. Charlottesville, Fluvanna is where I'm from. And this area means the world to me. But they've got an amazing downtown area, a lot of local farms and small businesses that support its surrounding areas, this area included. Full of a lot of amazing people. It's a population very similar to the size of here. I think we talked about that in the last few weeks. So I think it's 55,000, but I can guarantee you there's an immigrant community that's probably non-documented that puts that closer to the 60,000 mark. And one of the things that we're very focused on there is also coming up with a solution for I-10 loans, which we're hoping to be able to announce in the next week or so.
You want to repeat that?
We're hoping, and I think that we're there, at least enough to be talking about it. For I-10 loans, this is individual taxpayer identification number. Those without social security numbers who have a work permit. They're part of that Culpeper population. They're part of the Charlottesville population, and these are people who produce and pay taxes and are part of our community and are underserved in a market when it comes to buying homes because they don't have the not the resources personally, but the bank support to be able to get funded and close on those. These are established people in our community who aren't going anywhere.
They're paying federal taxes. They're paying state taxes. Yeah. They're paying local taxes. They're paying real estate taxes.
100%.
And they are filing tax returns under whatever
either
number.
A tax ID
tax
or
ID.
A social security number. That's now there's all sorts of other issues that they have as far as trust in the system, but our goal is to be able to help that community at a much higher level.
He's an award winner, guys. We have two of them on the panel here with Keith Smith and Scott Morris, so it kind of gives insight into the level of expertise we're trying to spotlight here on Real Talk, presented today by Ross Mortgage. Gentlemen, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Keith Smith, I did some light reading this morning, courtesy of an email I received from you.
What time was that? That was actually reasonable.
It was good.
Like 8 something.
It wasn't bad.
Wasn't
it
that
was
bad.
great.
Wasn't that
I
bad.
appreciated the light reading. A lot of trends that I want to highlight there, including home buyers, now a lower likelihood, still likely, but the trends are going downward of potentially not having kids.
That was a huge stat.
I thought that was a huge stat. I thought the marriage one was a huge stat that I took out of it as well, where home buyers now much more likely to not be married than they were a generation ago or even longer. So, Keith, where do you want to start?
Well, before we do that, can I ask Scott a question?
Oh, please.
So, Charlottesville, Culpeper. Are we starting to see that to come together like Charlottesville and Richmond is? Are you starting to see Charlottesville working its way to Culpeper as far as real estate is concerned, and Culpeper coming this way, or is there like a clear division between the two?
I think Madison is the clear division, and that's just there's that goes back to the growth topic that we talk about every week, where and what do they want for their county as far as land division and that sort of thing, but certainly we're seeing Ruckersville creep further and
so
further
that's
north.
that's Greene County,
Yeah,
right?
And
coming up on.
So then the north side of Albemarle, what's that?
Hollymead, Forsyth.
Yeah, they just blew out. There's a ton of apartments going in there.
You're talking about North Point.
Yeah.
North Point, yeah, and I can tell you because I've been having conversations with some of the builders over there. They're sold out 2022.
Crazy.
They're going into 2023.
Crazy.
On that end of it, but it feels to me, we talk about this all the time about this rubber band growing a little bit, and I wrote down Madison County because I've never really took a deep dive into Madison County's numbers, so we'll save that for a future show. But I just
is your illusion that maybe the dam of the development could be the county of Madison, with connecting Culpeper and Albemarle?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and then
what about Orange? Because Orange is in the middle of that.
Kind of
more toward the side.
So Orange is 15. Madison's 29.
I knew that. That was a test.
That's okay. Now there's there's a lot of beautiful country out there on that side. Orange has some HUD median income restrictions. They're just a little lower county, which I think it probably prevents some of the growth. Although right now there's I think Liberty and there's some other Jefferson Home Builders. There's quite a bit of building going on in Orange at the moment.
So this report that Jerry referenced, it's put on by a National Association of Realtors, so it's national, right? It's not. So they said that the factors influencing neighborhood choice, top 5, 2019, top was quality of neighborhood with 63. 46 was convenience to job. Third was 44% overall affordability. 4 was convenient to friends and family. And fifth at 30% was convenient to shopping. 2021, same thing. Quality neighborhood was number 1. So neighborhood matters. We talk about this, location matters. Number 2 was convenient to friends and family. So that jumped from number 4 to number 2.
I think that's a lot.
2021.
The pandemic had a lot to do with how people view where they want to be living and how close they want to be living to the people that they love.
Number 3 in 2021 was convenient the job. Number 4, as I said, was overall affordability of homes, and number 5 was design of the neighborhood, which was never in 19's top 5.
Design of the neighborhood.
So if you take 29 and 63, this is a percentage of folks that. So the neighborhood was super important. And that's kind of why I jumped in on what is this coming together, and there's some neighborhoods from your perspective, because I'm not really dialed into that middle space between Charlottesville, and I just thought that would be a good place to kick it off.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't see Madison being I would be surprised to see, if we're talking about design of neighborhood, your cul-de-sac, everybody, that type of, I think that's going to stay more rural, builder, developer, 5 acre lot type of.
Well, I mean, this conversation's got me digging into, so I'm going to dig into Madison's thing, because I don't even know what.
Madison's pretty close.
It is.
From the Charlottesville, I mean, if we're talking Buckingham and Madison, or Buckingham and Waynesboro, we certainly have to include Madison, which is closer than both.
What's the vineyard right there on 29? I pass it whenever. Is it Early Mountain?
Prince William.
Yeah, Early Mountain.
Early Mountain
Vineyard.
Yeah. Beautiful, super cool. Yeah, so to give you an idea.
Prince Michelle.
Prince Michelle's like 5 minutes from my house. Early Mountain's 20 minutes from my house and 20 minutes from Hollymead.
And you also have Ball Top.
Yep. Absolutely, there. That's right down there.
Yeah. I mean, how far Madison to UVA?
35 minutes.
Right, closer than Waynesboro and Buckingham.
That's why I bring in the conversation.
It's probably less. It's probably, and depending on where Madison,
2025.
Yeah, closer than that.
Because it's straight down 29.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Versus, the 20 to get to Buckingham. That's the reason Buckingham comes up quite a bit. I'm just wondering why Madison doesn't come up in the conversation. So it could be a multitude of reasons, but as far as transportation is concerned, driving, how long did it take you to get from your house to here?
My house from here is like 50 minutes.
Yeah. Because you live out with the pigs.
Yeah.
Goats and the chickens.
So I'm actually not bad. I am 5 minutes from 29 and 5 minutes from 15. I'm right into Zion's Crossroads here, Fredericksburg, Manassas. Everything's less than an hour.
It's a good spot. So the questions already come in. We have sharp viewers that listen to and watch the show, and we love when he watches. Grayson in particular. You often ask this guest about mortgage applications as a trend for how the market is doing. Please make sure you bring that up today.
I literally hand wrote that note and slid it across before the show started.
Smart guys.
So, I'm using that as the new barometer, one of the barometers anyway, of how the market is going.
That's a great barometer.
And so, tell me how it's trending.
Depending on how you want to look at that, of what we're going to call an application. If we're going to call an application of people applying, we'd been a little low on the month until yesterday, and I think a big number put us above average going into the end of the month.
Was it like in the last week or something?
In the last 5 days.
So why is that, in your opinion?
It could be this COVID confidence thing we're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I think it is.
Yeah.
Finish your thought, because we're going to cut this into a highlight clip. This is important, what he's saying.
Well, I mean, I've thought for a while that the message needs to be like, where's the next step? Like, are we
It's
ready?
changing.
Yeah, we're starting to see the trend. But as far as applications counting, if we're calling them under contract, I've got a lot of people out there making offers, but we've talked about that in week-over-week shows. Just because you're going out and making offers and not getting accepted, and this is for realtors, this is for buyers, that does not mean that woe is me. It's just because that was the property doesn't make it the property for you. Continue what you're doing, you will find success. And we've said that, I've seen it all year long for the, and just because you go out one week, we get a little more inventory, come on the next, and you go out there and you find success. You get under contract, you find the house.
We've been having that, we had that discussion yesterday, we've been having this discussion pretty much all this week. It seems like the pendulum is moving, the active inventory is picking up. It's anemic, right?
Yeah.
Single
I mean,
digit.
she's got his better half, his better 7/8. He's got 12 listings in the hopper.
Over the course of time.
I was on the phone with somebody this morning walking in who's got 8 that are coming on in the next like 7 days.
I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, so and we predicted this, I think by the end of this first full quarter, you're going to see, it's not going to look, let's face it, if you read CAR's information, we're at a 1 month inventory absorption rate.
But it's an improvement.
It's an improvement,
Yeah.
right? Just so that you know, according to all the experts, neutral is 6 months, so we've got a bit of a way to go there. I don't necessarily agree with the 6 month number, but whatever. But it's starting to move in the right direction, and so I just was really, I'm tracking this application thing, because what's also happening, and we're seeing this with buyers, they're walking in, they're getting your application, they're getting your approval, and they know they're going to miss probably the first couple of few. They just know it going into it, right? So their patience has been built up a little bit, where before they would be, walk away from it kind of thing.
Well,
or give up.
So, and one thing, and I've had conversations with borrowers and with agents on communicating for that offer to where I'm contacting the listing agent as well, because we're trying to get as much underwriting done to where we can actually issue a loan commitment and literally only be short an appraisal on a contract to close. And people are saying, well, how fast can we do that? I like to say 21 days, and if we can do it faster, a lot of that's going to depend on the appraisal. Technically, I think I've had 2 that we could have done in 14. 10 is as fast as you're going to get it done. But if that's the case and you've got a cash buyer who wants a little bit of time for whatever reason, and I can make a compelling argument to that listing agent that our financed offer is actually better than the cash offer, if time is your biggest concern, we'll get that done.
That's an ending right there for number 2. Well said.
Thanks, man.
With confidence and conviction right there. So we're feeling the pulse of call it Main Street. You reference walking by Brazos. I referenced Guadalajara and Three Notched. Both were packed to the bone. Folks eating inside in tables close, unmasked, including my family.
I got a sold-out dinner I'm going to at Grisette with Diamond Glass in Richmond on Friday that I'm super excited about.
And that's not a huge spot from an inside standpoint.
Correct.
Okay, so that's another positive thing. You're talking about listings in the hopper. He's referencing this colleague, this realtor that's got 8 in the hopper.
And then there's one other item which I'm sure you're going to cover on your noon show or some other.
UVA.
That's
chemistry.
That is huge.
Did you hear that, Scott?
Yes.
UVA is changing its mask policy. It's incremental, right?
United Kingdom, their prime minister stopped all mandates, removed all restrictions with COVID.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's coming.
I mean, I think
endemic, Scott.
Really. People have realized that we're there, and now they're feeling accepted because someone else is telling them that.
Okay, so we got stuff coming in here already. Let me ask this. Your wife is orthodontist. Mm-hmm. How does she respond to this?
Positive. So
she's in close contact with, very close contact with people.
Can't get any closer.
Yeah, right.
And they're not wearing masks.
Yeah, right.
They're literally in their mouths. Yeah. So they went through the entirety of this timeline, and with no one in the office having catching COVID, and then they shut down that week of like Christmas to New Year's.
Bingo.
And everybody got it outside of like an unwork, like in that period of time.
The holidays.
Yeah. And it was, literally every employee, like through separate means of contact with whatever the Omicron or whatever variation that they had for those who did or didn't get tested, but they went the entirety from the time that the government forced her business to shut down for 8 weeks because they were medical and they were considered it's like an elective.
Yeah.
And the government just said, no, you guys can't operate.
Orthodontist was not considered.
Correct.
What's the word where it's critical or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, so they are considered an elective. So
Okay.
they weren't one of the ones that. So that yes, they were a forced shutdown 8 weeks before they could go back in, before anybody knew what parameters to put around it, and went from that March date all the way to Christmas 2021, and everyone who did get sick got sick outside of a work environment.
Johnny Ornelas says packed house at Guadalajara on Fontaine Avenue
Love
last
it.
night.
What about mariachis? How is mariachis at Zion's?
Al Mariachi, let us know how that's going, Johnny O.
Always been doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the man's got a great
I go in
product.
for lunch, and if it's not, it's a pretty full house when I'm stopping in.
It's
Stephen Christoph says Citizen Burger Bar was packed from happy hour through the first wave of dinner last night as well. I mean, so you have multiple people that are chiming in of what they're seeing.
So I want to ask the follow-up question to a guy that takes these mortgage applications on the front end. That's the reason why I'm asking, is your upticking week over week? So what is your gut telling you? Are we kind of at the endemic of this, and are we looking at a different market?
I mean, he basically wants to know, are we going to see some more inventory?
That's a literal.
I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
They all do want that.
Yes, I mean, I think the indicator of applications is part of that, but we can have 50 people riding with pre-approvals that can't get under contract. But the other side is when I'm having conversations with agents who are telling me that they're having 6, 7, 8 listings coming on, 12, is that what in the pipeline? But bottom line is when I'm having conversations with agents who are already referring business saying that, hey, I've been focusing on getting listings because of how difficult it's been to get buyers, and this is all of a sudden what I've got coming, whereas before we just didn't have that level of interest, I think that's also a lead indicator.
Yeah, so this bell curve, I think we're working our way to the top of the bell curve as far as this inventory thing goes. We've got, maybe a quarter way up, halfway up. We've got a long way to go before we get up on that. But eventually, this whole mindset is going to start changing more to the buyer. Is going to eventually hit that neutral market or that balanced market. I think it's 3 months of inventory. Some people think it's 6.
I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think the other combination is kind of what we've been talking about in regards to, and I'll take a peek right now while we're on because I don't see it up there, but what we've been seeing, so I said that Russia going into Ukraine because typically people like the haven of the bond market. The bond market has kind of shrugged its shoulders and said, I'm still going up. It took a little pullback last week, but now we're actually getting into the sausage of what's going on. And
I love that phrase.
and it's continuing to climb. And what's coming, which hasn't hit yet, is Fed's March meeting when they actually make a decision on whether this is going to be a 50 or 25 bips hit to the prime rate. And when that does that, you're going to see people escaping the bond market even further and mortgage rates continuing to climb. Now, while the Fed rate is not tied directly,
you said climb,
go up. While the Fed rate is not directly tied to the U.S. 10-year and the mortgage-backed securities, what goes into actual daily mortgage rates, what is tied to is that people are going to escape bonds in a time of inflation and a rising Fed market, because if you have 7% inflation and bonds are only going to be at 2.5%, it's where you're losing the least amount of money, and the most protection there is typically in the stock market. So as people escape bonds, the yield gets higher, mortgage rates are going to continue to increase along with that. I think that, and I've continued to say it, that I think 5% is on the table at some point this year. Yeah, for this calendar year.
Well, what are we at right now? 4 and something?
Like 4.
4? Yeah.
So Johnny O says El Mariachi blowing out the door with customers.
Oh, yeah.
Love
out
it.
the door with customers. I absolutely love that for him. You got Jamie Turner, the mayor of Gordonsville, who's now moved to Culpeper. He says Davis Street in Culpeper has been jumping the past few weeks as well. Packed house in It's About Time over the weekend. No masks.
So
let's go.
No mask, let's go. I don't know if James is aware of this. One of the things that Culpeper does on Davis Street there are the parklets. I don't know what, bottom line, it's basically 2 parking spots in front of these restaurants that get bumped out into an outdoor seating area. And they're going to put that back mid-March. I could be wrong about the date.
So they're taking them away.
They've already taken them away. Plows, ice,
got it.
that sort of thing. Winter, nobody's going to be sitting outside when
got it.
it's 5 degrees. But they're putting them back out there, which is going to be expanded seating for restaurants, and not just for those. If we're talking about comfort levels, but I feel like they should. And for anyone listening in Culpeper, if there's any collective group of people that can take the idea of turning Davis Street into a walking mall at least some of the time, that is a huge benefit, just like would be turning the downtown mall into a beer garden style area to where you're not bound by one thing or another when you're going from one place to the next.
Dude is bringing fire right now. Cut that into a highlight clip, please. Dear Lord, that was fantastic. Jamie Turner says, nice, let's go, Scott. Literally right here. And then he adds, offices opening back up in D.C., work happy hours are back. Everything is trending towards some normalcy finally.
Absolutely.
Yonna helps us with the word we were looking for, essential.
Essential.
Essential was
Thank
the
you,
word we
Mrs.
were
Smith.
looking for. Thank you very much, Yonna Smith. So feeling good, gentlemen. Optimism here on the set of Real Talk. Keith Smith.
Yeah, I mean, we kicked it off on Monday, and I think that's the motif going forward on that end of it, and I'm really excited about this whole conversation of Culpeper and Madison and Charlottesville, because I think as inventory grows, I think you're going to see the buyers that have been kind of on the periphery. There's 2 big words I used today. On the periphery.
Motif and periphery.
I like it.
Our boy, Scott, our boy.
Mrs. Smith was teaching me this morning.
Good job.
So,
I got a day of the word, a word of the day calendar too.
no, this is Mrs. Smith going.
Has
Okay,
Keith been playing Wordle? Is that what he's been doing, Scott?
I don't even know what even Wordle is.
Wordle got purchased by the New York Times. It's the viral sensation of social media right now.
Yeah.
Where everyone's posting
It's
their
like
Wordle score.
Scrabble.
No, so
Yeah.
I think between Yvonne Smith and Yonna Smith, they're just trying to help me with my vocabulary.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you,
Love
thank
it.
you. So, I just think, I think you're going to see, as confidence is building up, as we've been talking about, and we predicted this, and I think at the end of this curve is going to kind of start changing at the end of the first quarter, where you're going to start getting some more inventory coming in. Also, there's been a bunch of buyers on the sidelines. I don't know how many conversations you might have. Well, I'm not quite ready yet. I'm waiting for inventory to pick up.
So here's a good one. I've got borrowers who are shopping in around the, let's say, $600,000 to $800,000 range. They've kind of been back and forth. But how about this? $600,000 last year this time, $800,000 this year this time. And part
That's
of
just
it,
because of increase in prices?
a combination there
Yeah.
of inventory and expectations where but they sold and they rented because they were a little unsure about where they wanted to be because they didn't want to be in they weren't going to go into 15 different offers at that price point. Now they're realizing that
You'll have money on the table.
well, that's not even the case. But they still see that with inventory, what it is, even with more stuff coming on, they potentially could be in a couple offer situation, but they feel that they're in a better place now than they were.
Yeah, but they made a decision based on
What was good for them?
guidance from you, guidance from their real estate agent, guidance from whatever their trusted advisor is, and they made that decision. And ultimately, they're comfortable with it. They have their cash, they're renting on the end of it. I think I would have tried to negotiate something from rent the house back, but that depends a lot on what the buyer's position was at
Sure.
that particular time, if they had to take occupancy of it or not. But, you know, and is this a local, or is this in the Culpeper?
It's in Culpeper.
Yeah, so do you have more rental opportunities in Culpeper, or is it pretty much as tight as it is
pretty
here?
tight. It's like
Yeah. So that's the struggle with that. I've got a client that we're working with that has sold their home. Now they want to buy it. They sold it with another real estate agent and another agency, and they're using us to buy. And it's a cash scenario. They wish that they didn't sell it because now they're in their short-term rental, which is about ready to expire. And the rental agency, the place that they're at is pushing them out because they want to put that on the market and capture the market. So it went from take your time to find something to now they're kind of panicking, and it's in that kind of price point. And I don't think I've ever thought we would say this, that finding something between 500 and $1 million plus would be difficult in this market. In 35 years, I thought I would never say that, but it is as difficult as it is to find something in the entry level.
Stacy has this for both you guys. What's the influence that UVA and the mask mandate going away in March is going to have on our community?
So to find it's not fully going away. So
I can offer a little perspective that March 21.
Yeah.
Mask will be more optional. There are still some circumstances where mask will have to be worn, but it's now in empowering of the individual as opposed to institutions or governments mandating the wearing of masks.
So at the moment, you would have to still wear it in classes and on buses in certain circumstances, but they're easing it back. So I think it's huge, and that's the reason I tossed it out there and I sent it to you. I was actually at UVA at 3:00 with certain individuals when they hit the send button at a meeting I was at, and I'm really surprised the mainstream media didn't really pick this up that much as much as we are picking it up, because UVA kind of,
I think it just broke late in the news cycle, and I think you're going to start seeing it today because of when it broke in the news cycle yesterday.
You're the genius on this end of it, but as we've been talking about all the time in our local region, and I'd love to ask Scott a question about the Culpeper region, but at the end of the day, UVA is that 20-ton, 30-ton, 40-ton elephant in the room. So as UVA goes, so does the rest of us go.
Exactly.
So I think you're going to see that. Look at this, matriculate.
Very
Another
well
big
done,
word.
Keith Smith.
Another big
You
word.
ate your Wheaties and stayed at a Holiday Inn
No,
Express last night.
I just had 2 cups of coffee.
It's a difference. I see that. We'll add to that for Scott Morris as well. You also have the schools, the public schools, the mandate being pulled on the 1st of March.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of stuff happening here.
I mean, I think
March is going to be. We're optimistic by nature. I'm very optimistic about March.
It's funny you should say that. On Friday, we're going to have the bracket breakfast folks come in tomorrow.
Jimmy Miller
and for CASA. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, I think you're going to see a March Madness. I think you're going to see a NCAA style uptick of everything. But in Culpeper, what is UVA's version? So do you have a single?
I mean, it's probably UVA in Culpeper.
Yeah, with the medical center.
You're talking about the influencer, the trendsetter.
Is it DC?
No, Culpeper kind of. We get priced into DC, but the social aspect is definitely like they buck the Northern Virginia
trend.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll try it a different way. So if UVA wasn't here, I'm not so sure the 3 of us would be sitting here. So what entity in there right now is kind of driving everything?
Let's call it a more rural attitude in general.
That's a big town, though. It's about 50,000, which is no different than Charlottesville.
Correct, but so I've had friends fly in from Texas and friends from Florida hang out, and there's a collective eye roll when they come to there has been to hang out in Charlottesville over the last year when it comes to certain perspectives regarding that. And I think Culpeper is more in line with that Florida, Texas mindset.
Well, you lost me when you said you had friends.
Well,
stop.
There were only two of them.
Oh, stop. Leave the man alone. Erpy is loving the burn over there, Scott Morris on Wordle, and he says, don't worry, Keith. Elizabeth, his fiance, had to explain to him what Wordle was on Sunday.
Thank you, Nikki. Nicholas,
yeah. So, first off, this man has a ton of friends. Second
it's
off,
a joke.
So I know. I want to just highlight it for those that did not pick up the sarcasm.
My sarcasm.
Second off, I didn't know that the Culpeper, you're saying more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Free, not. I mean, how do I say this?
It just has a different mindset.
Relaxed.
Yeah. That most definitely. Yeah. A more relaxed mindset.
Keith, I'm excited for March as we've indicated. And another thing that kind of took me aback was 5% this year from our expert.
I'm telling you, look
on
at
a 30 fixed.
Well, that's funny. We were, and I went on the record saying they'd never go over 4, and now I'm wondering if it's even going to stay under 5. The question is, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for the market overall?
So I think it's going to make some price points more and more competitive, and others it's going to give some flexibility to. It's certainly going to take some buyers out of that pool.
I hate to say this. You guys are the
I'm
pros here.
I'm going to answer it for you because I know what you're thinking. I have a land trust meeting tomorrow to talk about this very thing because it has been difficult to get the buyers to fit into this wedge between not exceeding a certain dollar amount because we can't exceed 80% AMI and making enough money to afford a home. That has now just got almost, it went from razor thin to whatever's thinner than razor thin. So this is impacting that end of the market, to include the tax increase, which is impacting that, and to include some of the places that they're at. The HOA fees are starting to go up.
Assessments, inflation. But from a positive standpoint, I think it could balance the market, get these crazy multiple offers to calm down, and neutralize it, and potentially keep a little more inventory on the market longer, which is good for everybody.
So
that's a positive side.
I agree 100%. Amongst you and your colleagues, do you feel that a more balanced market is a better market, or the one that we're currently in?
I mean, so a more balanced market is better. Now, at the same time, when we talk about affordable housing, and it's going to continue to price people out.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the tough. That's what do you do when the house when we were talking let's say 250 3 years ago was an obtainable price point, and now that 250 is 300 and
maybe 350
or 325,
yeah.
And we need some inventory to come on to, because we know that things can that real estate value will always increase faster than you're ever going to see it decline. So we're not talking about a decline; we're looking for a plateau. And
I prefer balance, but you're 100% right.
I'm not calling a decline. What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
I mean that as you see values go up and then more inventory come on, you're going to see, instead of these 18% value increases on your home, shrink to hopefully a 3% increase over year.
3 to 6 is your norm.
So when we're talking about 3 years ago, a $250,000 property now being able to be sold for $300,000, $325,000, $350,000 potentially, how sustainable is that? Do you then go from $350,000 on that property to $500,000? What does that do to your overall inventory? But my point there is, you can see those values go up. You will not see those values go back to 250.
Sure.
What we want to see stop is the crazy increase day over day, month over month, etc.
And the point I was trying to make amongst my field, amongst the professionals on the real estate side of it, the realtor side of it, amongst the loan officer side of it, we want a balance. We want a more neutral market. This 13, 14, 15% double-digit increase is not healthy for the market, not long-term. And it's interesting when I say that amongst folks that are not in our industry, they don't understand it. They don't understand why. What do you mean if it goes up 10 or 15%, you're making more money? Well, if you're relationally focused.
So relationally focused people in my industry, what do people say in like private groups? Let the rates go up and let the Rockets and the mortgage and the Better and all of these people who over leverage, go realize how tough this is.
Maybe along the lines of what iBuyers went for our friends at Zillow. It's not a sustainable thing. I mean, and the reason it's not sustainable, I mean, I'm at an advantage because we do enough business and we know each other long enough to say this. But out of all the transactions that you have, and I'm going back to a relational thing, at some point, just like you're getting a phone call right now, at some point you've got to put your hands on every transaction, almost every transaction, to help it get to the finish line. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
Right? So this phone that we all hold in our hands, or this whatever the name of those other companies, are not going to do that for you. So I think you're right. I think when we talk about getting back to a more balanced, a more normal market, it's the same as far as what's coming on and coming off and appreciation. It's also back to really relying on the trusted advisor, because I know there's not a single transaction we do that we don't have to help get across the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the human element that creates concerns that have to be addressed in some high level situation whether it's just instruction to the borrower on how to transfer funds to meet a deadline, what to do, what not to do, how to protect people's best interest, that someone in a call center who has no relationship with you, with a listing agent, and if things don't work out, who does it really affect? Versus someone who has
they just move on to the next
they
one.
just move on to the next. The more pain that can be caused to those people, the better, and literally for better, and the better that our local relationships go to helping the people in our communities around us, the better for all of us.
I'm sitting here watching some texts come in for a closing that's happening right now, and questions being asked of me so it can close. So this phone is great for that purposes, but to go ahead and do it, but the personal connection makes the difference, because this particular issue happens to be I'm helping a lawyer understand this transaction on this end of it, but you reach out to lawyers, you reach out to the realtors, you reach out to your client, of course, that you're doing to help get it across the line.
This comment is an interesting one. Yesterday in a city council meeting in Charlottesville, the director of finance, Todd Drivers, presented to council that used car prices, their values, are going through the roof. So when personal property taxes come out in the next cycle, people are going to be shocked because their used cars are not like depreciating in value.
No, you want to hear the real problem with that? So you go to buy a new car. MSRP is what MSRP is. They put a dealer pack on it for market,
a little bit about
market
this,
conditions, and you're paying $5,000 over for whatever that sticker is. Cool, that's not your problem. New car it's still going to continue to depreciate. The $5,000 isn't that big of a deal. Now, let's say you're going out and you're buying a 3-year-old vehicle, 20,000 miles on it, that typically should be worth about 80% of what its original MSRP was. Now that vehicle is worth 120% of what its original MSRP is. Now, once dealers start to get more inventory in through the chip shortage and manufacturing and supply chain issues that they've been dealing with, and these new cars come back onto the market, and these rental companies who sold off all of their inventory early on in the pandemic, who have been buying 100,000-mile vehicles to put out for Enterprise and all of them. Hertz, etc. So once they start then offloading all these vehicles back into the used market, because they're getting fleet purchases again from manufacturers, and you've gone out and you've purchased a vehicle that MSRP at $20,000, you paid $28,000 in a used inventory market for, and now that $28,000 vehicle that you purchased on an 80-month term, an 80-month term. They're financing vehicles for 80 months. Now is when it went from being worth $28,000 when you bought it to being worth $12,000 because now there's enough used car inventory that nobody wants to buy it anymore.
But you're being taxed on that.
Forget the tax, bro. You're $16,000 upside down on a car that has 70,000 miles on it because you've been driving it for 3 years. And when you go to buy a house and I go, hey, is there any way that we can get you out of this car? They can't trade you out of it. You're not going to, that's where the...
You should explain that again. You should explain that again. And like even more simplistic terms, because this is something that's for real. And I'll give a little background here. The final agenda item in yesterday's council meeting, and I'm going to get his title exactly correct, was Commissioner of Revenue.
Yeah, sure.
His name is Todd Divers. And he's talking about rising vehicle assessments, and he did a PowerPoint presentation about this. And he referenced, is it JD?
JD Powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JD Power. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. JD
I was
Powers.
talking about the state of the auto industry and how prices have gone up. So he said, I'm putting this on your radar, council, because you're going to get a boatload of negative feedback from the community. When personal property taxes come out, people get taxed on their possessions.
You realize the Commissioner of Revenue is an elected position.
It's an elected position.
Yeah.
But this guy's not doing anything. It's not him.
No,
it's just the industry.
He's doing his job and reporting in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's letting them know what's going on.
Doing his job.
He's prepping them. So when these bills come out, everyone, dude, this is so freaking crazy right now. They're dealing with 7% inflation. They're dealing with gas about to hit $4 a gallon here. They're going to deal with a sting with cars on property taxes. They're dealing with 12% assessment increases and a potential 10-cent tax rate increase.
So nobody's talking about that, but this, what the Commissioner of Revenue is explaining, and by the way, this is the same in all the jurisdictions.
Yeah.
When they start looking at personal property, I bet you if somebody sits down and pencil this out, what you're going to be paying more per year on your personal property because as Scott just outlined on the new valuation, maybe more than your real property taxes.
Well, he's saying, this is a great statistic for you, that the city, the jurisdiction of Charlottesville will get an extra $2 million projected from this
increase in
used car phenomenon.
Yeah.
$2 million
So it used to be
$190 million budget. That's a lot of money.
So what Scott is outlining, it used to be, well, instead of buying a new car and getting taxed at this 40 grand or whatever it is, I'll go buy a used vehicle.
But I'm not just talking about the tax penalty.
Explain that again, take again.
I'm talking about
The
if there
valuation.
is, if there is a future bubble /
that.
bad news bears for the economy and the U.S. consumer, it's the fact that they're buying used cars at 160% of what their real value should be
now. Yeah.
And when the inventory comes back into that market, they're only going to be worth 50% of that overnight. So you're not going to be able to
So
trade
that's where the
out of
balloon
it.
is.
You're not going to be able to trade out of it because dealers aren't going to want them.
Yep.
You're going to they're financing them for an extended period to where they're not going to be making they're not
Any
really,
kind of debt on principal.
So
they're doing
not
interest over 7 years.
Yep, they're not hitting any real. So they're 3 years from now they're going to owe. Everybody owes typically a couple years into a car note, even at a 60-month loan. Halfway
This
through
whole
it.
80-month thing is
But I'm telling you,
weird.
the pain points are coming, and they are coming in the used car. That is your next, oh my God, how did we let this happen moment.
And then he's smart.
Oh, yeah.
I completely agree with him. And how about the gas piece on top of that? With the Ukraine, Russia, dude, it's like $3.50 a gallon now.
So what?
You don't think that's a lot?
Compared to so I say that everybody makes the comparison to, oh my gosh, look where it was a year ago. That's because demand fell off the cliff to the point that barrel oil was trading on the stock market for negative money. That meant you could have gone and been like, can we get 50 gallons and put them in the garage?
Yeah.
And then today it'd be worth so much money. But
so that's what's in your garage.
He's got a big ass truck.
I've got Hot Wheels, big wheels. What are the things that the kids drive? Anyway, I got a bunch of.
Big wheels. That's a little.
I always
What is
wondered
that
what
called? My wife has one. My son has one of those.
Power Wheels.
Is it a Power Wheel?
Power Wheels, I think, or some version of
The
it.
one that you can drive if you're a kid.
I think they were called Power Wheels, and now
The
they're
Tonka
just...
part I got. I remember Tonka trucks.
Kids, okay, keep going, Scott. I'm going to look that up because that's going to bother me.
There's a lot of different versions of it now.
What's that called, wife, if you're watching there?
But this is a real topic to talk about because, we should tag Ned Galloway, right? Board of Supervisors, Albemarle County, runs car lots over here on Pantops, and he's going to come in the back end of the month.
So you know who else is going to get hammered? Is the CarMax, anybody who's... They've got to take some sort of precaution at some point, because if the value of their inventory, because it will happen fast when it happens, and these are big companies, nationally, public traded companies, there's got to be some sort of hedge there being taken. I can tell you the company that owns the place that used to be Minutos, Dennis's Auto Superstore on Pantops is now...
Car lots.
Is that them?
Car lots.
Right, their business model is to kind of consignment, so they don't really take on...
That's Ned Galloway. He's talking about. Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
So they already have a bit of a hedge against the problem, but for the CarMaxes and these other...
That's why I want his take on this. So
Okay.
we were going to bring him in at the end of the month because he'll come in here with our Ned and Neil roundtable, and I made a note. We're going to ask about that. I think you've got multiple things happening. 100% right. It feels like the same thing that was happening in houses in 2008, 2009.
Mustache Dan Pettit, Real Estate 3, we love you, DP. We love you, DP. Houses in that same situation?
No.
Question mark?
No, because vehicles depreciate in value, right?
Well, I think he's referencing, and I'm trying to read between the lines, he just put that on there, and the last, 18 months, people have been paying a hell of a lot more for homes.
Yeah, but you don't have the Scott, help me out here. You don't have the regulatory...
He's trying to compare it to what Scott was saying, where right now people are paying a hell of a lot more for used cars.
Because they stopped making cars overnight.
But didn't they stop making houses?
They stopped making houses, but here's the difference. I can walk in and buy a car, and I don't have an appraiser telling me.
There's not 10 people lined up, the
wheels are turning over there.
The dynamics are different in the fact that they've been continuing to finance auto loans. This is like the adjustable rate mortgage.
That's exactly right. That's the point I was trying to make.
2008.
That's the difference.
That's exactly right.
That's the difference. You don't have highly qualified people. They're putting... Now, there's still qualifications, but there's somebody stepping in to fill that void.
You don't have a regulatory body.
And I am not saying there needs to be a regulatory body for those who are buying cars.
But to Dan's point, from somebody who may not know being looking at it at a closer lens as we are, it could feel a little bit the same, but it's not. There's
There's not a foreclosure. There's not this massive amount of foreclosures.
10 million of them
potentially coming on the market
exactly right.
to fill the void. So that's the difference. Car manufacturers want to be able to put more inventory on the market, but they also don't want to give up the MSRP value that they're getting on these vehicles.
But I think what you're trying to explain is what happened in 2008, and you're putting it into a car, right? I bought something high, it decreased in value, because cars always decrease in value, unless
unless right now.
It's right now, but that's not...
They're not now.
But that's not sustainable, right? And that's
correct.
what I think that's what Scott's trying to say. We just talked about this whole thing about,
This is a great topic.
We just talked about this thing that I've got a 15-year spreadsheet, depending on the jurisdiction, anywhere between 3 to 6%. Excuse me, I apologize. I have a 20-year spreadsheet that says market value, and included the great time of unpleasantness. But at the end of the day, we've been appreciating 3 to 5%. If I hold on to a car in 20 years, it's not going to appreciate. It's not going to year over year appreciate in value.
And I can put it in perspective for you. This is from Todd Driver's presentation, Commissioner of Revenue, Todd Divers. There's only one R, Todd Divers. 2013 Honda Civic, 2021 assessed value, $6,875. That 2013 Honda Civic in 2022, its assessed value, $9,650. The assessed value went up nearly $3,000 on a 9-year-old car.
And so we've been tracking.
Think about that: a Civic, a Honda.
Yeah, and
that's my point.
Well, and I'm going to go back to the other point about we talk about rate on homes, right, on real property. They also negotiate and set the rate for real property. So we haven't been talking about that. So whatever the rate is for the city of Charlottesville, I think it's going up. So I would love to know if somebody can do some quick math. If it's in that article, that's great.
I think it might be. Let me see
how
if I
much
can find it.
extra they're paying per year for that.
So I want to talk about the commenters, make comparison between what is what happened.
Realtor.
All right, yeah. Let's talk about that and think about it for a second. How did we lose the value before? Because how do we get so much flood of inventory? You literally could list a house and there was no one there to buy it. That was the problem last time. The difference this time is due to the regulatory environment that we now live in. We don't have a flood of inventory to come crash the market. We don't. There was so many things that went into that. The auto problem is different in the fact that manufacturers are going to have to supply their fleet companies with vehicles of some kind, whether they're electric or gas. I don't care. Whatever it is, whatever the government forces these people into doing, at some point production has to hit a certain level. Once production gets to that level, you've got people who are tied into 8-year loans.
Just like they bought a house in 2004, 2005.
And that's the comparison he's making, yeah.
But with houses, and why it's different is we don't have the ability to flood the market with the inventory there's not production facilities across the world shipping houses into America that we can stick on pieces of property.
He's saying it's easier to add inventory with vehicles than homes. That's what he's saying.
Which is what we talk about every week. Yeah. Why? What's the problem? It's inventory. How do we get more new construction? It's a year-over-year problem. Like what? That's the difference.
Thank you. The chemistry's working, and that's why I wanted to jump in. Automobile manufacturers, as a whole, can ramp up production multiple times easier than you can ramp up production of a home.
Yeah. Even if they're not well made and they're like a Tesla where none of the body lines up, whatever.
Okay.
There's a lot of Tesla drivers out there, Scott.
Then they know they've got body line issues.
Smith is trying to speak here, guys.
Sorry, apologies.
Go ahead, Keith.
Done.
Just saying.
He's passionate. I like his passion.
Just saying. So exactly right. So if you take a look at we had this drop off of 2 million production units per year down. We're short 5.5. I think actually this year they're projecting we might hit again 2 million units, but we have so much, and it takes the runway to get a project approved, right? We know it's almost impossible. It's 5 years, 10 years to get production up to that point. Cars, I'm taking a stab at it because I don't know anything about production of vehicles, but let's call it widgets. You should be able to produce.
Except for now. This chip shortage.
I understand it, but that's not going to take 10 years to fix.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
They projected that to take 2 to 3 years to fix, and that was a year ago, that seems to be
and we're moving happening. We're moving chip production into the United States.
I'm saying we're 12.
That's going to take a decade plus.
I would imagine
of the chip production.
I'm saying we're probably
the US.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm saying we're probably 18 months away from seeing this problem really rear its head.
So 18 months for there's a crystal ball right there.
So unless the manufacturers think the same as you do and start ramping their production up, assuming they can, right? They got no chips, nobody, labor shortage and so forth and so on. So you're looking 18 months to hit the brick wall.
If the economy is as strong as the people who seem to be making these decisions think that it is, they are going to have to come up with solutions for supply and manufacturing to provide.
So how's that going to impact you and me? So let's say that happens. Let's say.
So then the people who are at the bottom of the totem pole to begin with the people who are at the bottom of the totem pole who are already being most affected by rising interest rates are going to be most affected because they're the people who aren't going to be able to trade out of these vehicles, and it's going to impact the lower 20-30% of the purchase economy as a whole, home buyers included.
Correct me out. Isn't that called a regressive tax? Is there an actual terminology?
I call all taxes regressive. Yeah. Just let me cut to the chase. Larry Lamb is watching on the program. That's why incremental tax sources are important.
Yeah, sure.
Larry Lamb says...
That's just good business.
That's just good business. It's how we run our business.
It's just good business.
Larry Lamb, Albemarle County raised the taxes on my truck $4,000 Never before has this happened. Albemarle County does not need more tax money. They have plenty of money.
So I'm curious what the cash bill difference was year over year.
Yeah, so Larry, put that in perspective. Year over year, what are you paying out of pocket
for that same vehicle
to Albemarle County for the same vehicle that's now a year older?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's now a year older.
Which is depreciating in value, not appreciating like a home will.
On paper value, it's going, well, I guess on paper value.
Right now, they're saying that it's appreciating, but
it's going up on paper value.
The question, second follow-up is, can he sell that truck for $4,000 more today than he could last year?
Offer that, Larry Lamb, please. That's on your page over there.
But that's my point to this. You can't put these people who only have one source of transportation and say, well, look, it's worth more because now you can sell it for more. They don't need to sell it for more. They need to get to work in it. And you're taxing them on an exponential scale. Anyways, whatever. I'm not going to.
No, I appreciate the passion. So put it even more in perspective. So more people are asking, Keith, I'll get out of your way here. A 2000 and, this is terrifying, 2016 Ford F-150, most popular truck.
In America.
Maybe the world. Certainly in America, the F-150.
Yeah, they don't, okay, go ahead.
Okay, certainly America, World Green America, most popular truck in America. 2016 Ford F-150. 2021 assessed value, $23,850. 2022 assessed value, $28,200. Basically, close to 5 G's it went up.
And again, I'd love, assuming they keep the rate the same, and that's the other thing. Again, this vehicle conversation is the same as the house conversation. It's a triangle, right? So they've assessed this vehicle at that end of it. Now they need to figure out what that rate's going to be. And there's an advertised rate, or it's about, I think they advertised in the city of Charlottesville, not Albemarle County, but there's an advertised rate part, and then there's the overall budget is the third part of that triangle. So I'd be really super curious on at $23,850 what he's paying per year in cash, and then in bumping it up to 28. What that, because if they raise that, because not only is it $23,850 at X cents, right, per hundred, if they raise that X cents per hundred up and plus the extra $5,000, that's what I was trying to get at. If somebody really takes a hard look at this, some of the cash ratios on these personal properties may be more than your house.
You're talking about ratio.
Cash out of pocket.
Yeah,
cash out of pocket. Cash out of pocket.
And this is something that's not being talked about besides Real Talk here.
And the issue on that is that vehicle we're talking about, that personal property vehicle, doesn't get tagged into your mortgage payment.
Hey, I've got a truck that I pay more personal property taxes on than I do 15 acres of land.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Put that in perspective. Dollar amount.
Off the top of my head, I think annual on the 15 acres is probably around $2,000, and I think annual on the truck is like $4,000.
So this is a little hidden tax source that nobody's talking about, and it's never been an issue because we've never had this huge increase.
Well, we've never had this.
So the personal
collision, assessments, inflation, tax rate, cars, everything.
And I sure, if an industrious person with pretty fast fingers can take a look at a bunch of year over years, I'm pretty sure it's never accelerated in value. It usually decreases in value, right? So that $23,000 truck should actually be less because it's depreciating in value. In that,
so on the guy who's calling about the value difference, he's paying about $400 more on the vehicle annually. I think from a quick search, Albemarle County personal property.
We're talking about that F-150?
Yeah, 4.28%. So at 20, let's say quick math, let's call it just 4%, $20,000, $800, $28,000, $1,100. So $300 difference annually just on the truck.
Neil Williamson's offering much perspective on this. President of the Free Enterprise Forum here. We love you, Neil Williamson.
That's a big number, 300.
That's a huge number. Not being discussed.
Think about that per person. That's
right.
Yeah.
Not being discussed.
And by the way, more than likely he has 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Right?
Most families do.
Yeah.
Most families do.
So it could be as much as $600 or whatever.
Yeah.
More.
For what it's worth, and he said he missed the first part of the conversation, Todd Divers made a presentation to council about this last night. This is the presentation we're referencing. He also says localities are mandated by the state code to value property at 100% fair market value.
Sure.
So we're also highlighting that this is out of Charlottesville's control.
Sure.
That they have to do this.
Absolutely.
The 10-cent real estate tax
And
rate
that's what the
increase-
Commissioner of Revenue is telling this city
That's what he's saying.
council.
The Commissioner of Revenue is telling the councilors
Pay
that you're
attention.
going to get a boatload of negative feedback from this.
Pay attention to
Once this gets attention on Real Talk.
Pay attention.
Okay, pay attention. That's what he's basically saying. Or once the bills come out. And then he also adds housing starts.
The other, you also can't, and excuse me to interrupt you, you also can't appeal this either.
No, you can't appeal this. Not like the housing.
Can't appeal
You
it.
can't appeal the assessment. I don't think you can appeal the
I
vehicle.
don't think you can
You
appeal.
can. I think you can appeal and prove. You can make that argument because
Well, Neil would know that.
they don't have the mileage on it. So you can go in and say, hey, look, you're saying this car is worth this. I can show you that it's actually worth less than that. I think you can appeal that.
Well,
Neil, do you know that answer?
and if that's the case, I've learned something today because I've never been aware of
'Cause
it.
I thought that was just like referencing like a Kelley Blue Book or J.D. Power. They just off the rip. That's
what they
year.
tax you, but I think
Neil would
that
know
you
the
can
answer
go.
to this for sure.
I'm almost certain you can make an argument against that.
Do you know, Williamson, if you could, Sir Neil Williamson, if you can offer that perspective on that one? Housing starts in the U.S. fell 4.1% month over month to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.638 million in January of 2022, well below forecasts of 1.7 million and the lowest in 3 months.
And it's even worse than that. That's just starts. They're having a hard time completing them.
Right.
So that number is even worse.
Which I was having that conversation with the client that you know that I have here in that space. He was saying that exact thing.
Yeah, it's the I use this word runway often, but I can pull a permit today. It's assuming you could, and you may not even get it pulled depending on the jurisdiction by the end of this year. But if you pull that permit today, you're not probably going to finish that to 2023.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, so that's so permit issues are great. You really should track COs, certificate of occupancies. Those are units that are actually closed, funded by Marvelous Mortgage. No,
Marvelous Mortgage with the jacket, just normally Scott Mortgage.
thank you for helping my tongue-tiedness. On
I mean,
the
there's
end
too
of it.
many M's there. That's why it's tough to say. I think we just go Mortgage Morris.
Yeah, bad idea, Smith. Okay, I tried.
Neil says you can attempt an appeal to the Commissioner of Revenue, but your final remedy is the circuit court on appealing the taxes.
So there's a
on
more
cars.
clearer process as far as real property is concerned.
Oh, no doubt.
Personal property.
Yeah, much clearer process. This is a hot topic. So any dotting the I's or crossing the T's on that? And we'll get to Katie Pearl's comment. Larry Lamb, I bought the truck new in 2018. The value went up $4,000 last year. It cost me $150 more than last year for the truck.
So that's why I love this show, because up until this conversation, I've really only been focusing on my real property taxes. I got to go take a look at both my vehicles and find out how much more we're paying. Because this isn't rolled into the payment. This isn't whatever. You need to write a physical.
It's nothing
check.
like giving the government a lot of money for something that you already own.
So you have to write a check by yearly, twice a year.
Yeah, June and December.
December 6th.
Yeah, the 6th of each
yeah.
month, which is also the time when the freaking real estate taxes come due and the
Oh, yeah, of course.
investment properties come due.
It all happens at
All
once.
happens at once. When it rains, it pours. You feel like you're getting kicked in the. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I would make a trip out of country that time.
I mean, it's just the worst. It happens all at the same time.
Yeah.
How about this from Katie? She's a realtor, Keller Williams. Right on, guys. With the prices rising so quickly, I have less buyers that are able to purchase. I would rather sell 10 homes instead of 4, even if the 4 are priced higher. It's a very unhealthy market, and many agents will be hustling as hard as they ever have with less to show for it.
Spot on. She's spot on, as usual.
Yeah, she adds a lot to the program. Thank you for that. Any thoughts on any of this stuff, Scott Morris?
I've been sharing a lot of thoughts on all of it.
You got fired up there. I like it.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, it's, you look at, we talk about a certain, when we talk about first-time home buyers and, or people who are aging out of a process and are on fixed incomes, and we talk about how the government's here to help. these are all situations where they're getting priced out through no fault of their own.
They're getting screwed.
Yeah. And then why somebody you got people who change jobs more often now in the gig economy, and that's great for somebody who's super tech savvy, who's doing, 3 different things in 6 figures. But when you've got people who are out here walking dogs and working in a restaurant, and or you got a teacher who spends evenings, waitressing somewhere trying to make a salary work for them to be able to purchase a home, and at the same time they're, their car breaks down, they have to buy a new vehicle, and we are putting them in a position to fail, and that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, but I think on the car side of it, and I'll just repeat this a couple more times, is the process to get a car loan is not the same as the process that we have to go get.
More people can get the car loans in the house.
Correct. Yeah, and and how else do
they'll throw the money to you with the car loan?
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'll say this, and we love our partners of the car business, but sometimes they're predatory situations for certain credit-worthy or uncredit-worthy individuals. And I understand they made their own bed to get to that point.
Now, some of those people who got in that position. Now, let's say the repossession rate on for one of those companies is 20%.
And we could reference. I don't want to reference the dealerships, but we all know that they're out there. Where the same car is being sold 3 times.
Let's say
as a repo.
Let's talk about that. Let's say that that repo rate is 20% for the entire business. Then they get in front of the judge, and and they're like, oh, how? And it's woe is me. How could you do this to this people? What are we talking about? The other 80% who had this as their only option, who make their payments, improve their credit, and go on to continue.
That's a fair counterpoint. That's a fair counterpoint.
So this is why, and I will say this officially, the shout out to Ned Galloway and the car lots model. The car lots model is this consignment model.
Yeah, it's different.
It's very different. It's very much so built to adjust this, and we'll let Ned say that a little bit longer. I think overall with this conversation, the takeaway I've had from this conversation is we all better be looking at this personal property taxes, because, oh, by the way,
I'll bring that up at 12:30.
The boat that I have sitting in my yard, that's $2,000, just went up in value. Right? I
don't own one of those vehicles that you just pour money into.
Yeah. I was always told when it comes to the boat, be really good friends with someone who owns a boat. Yeah. Never own a boat yourself.
A boat is a hole in the water which you throw money into.
Yeah, that's what
But I bought
was taught.
I bought that at $2,000 for cash, and it's never done nothing but good thing for me, and I get to fish with family and friends on a regular basis.
Which is great. And you're very my wife was saying last night over dinner, Keith is one of the most generous people we know. Which is true. It's a very New Yorker quality, the generosity, and you certainly embody it.
That was great yesterday. But the $140 that our friend won.
And a lot of people. Can I say what you did?
Sure.
Okay, so he brought lottery tickets to the show
because it was 2222.
Nice.
Wanted to have
spent $100 in lottery tickets for the guests, the panels. He won
to include Judah.
And Judah, he won $40, and Jason won $100. And after the show was over, he gave his $40 in winnings to Jason. So Jason had $140 for a special night out with his better half.
Yeah, I kind of said $100 wasn't going to cut it. Here you go.
Inflation.
Inflation.
Supply chain. Labor shortage.
I want you to take an Uber home after that.
That's the answer to everything.
No, he wanted me to drive.
Oh, okay.
I had to drive.
Well, can we get back to Scott's? And this topic is obviously good on the feed and good for a talk show and intriguing to all of us. The used car dealerships that are more in the predatory category. Scott's point is, if 80% of the clientele are able to afford the rates, and because their credit was so poor, that was their only option, then that there is a niche in the market for that kind of business, and we should put them down or knock them.
Absolutely.
Okay. I
think predatory is the wrong term.
Yeah, I don't.
How about aggressive in their lending tactics?
Remember our rules here, guys.
Yeah.
Aggressive in their lending tactics, but you have to consider the cost of doing business with that 20%
For sure.
ain't free, bro.
Yeah, right. And
Like
he's
going to
basically-
court,
Yeah.
paying the repo, fixing the car again,
Yeah.
because it's not. I promise you, it's not
But
coming
is
back.
the-
and
is the-
He's
is-
factoring
in
the
this-
lawyer fees, the opportunity cost of time,
the shop
the
fee to
paperwork.
put it back through that shop in order
gentlemen,
to
gentlemen,
retail it.
the car dealer isn't.
He's very much a free market guy.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So am I.
So am I.
But-
so am I.
I'm just saying, I think predatory is the wrong.
All right,
word.
I'll say
Oh, yeah,
aggressive
yeah.
lending tactics.
Yeah.
I will counter this, Scott, by
But-
saying this for the sake of a talk show, that
Smith.
in today's climate, which you just identified really well and had me thinking with these prices going up so high, if someone's buying a used car here at the peak of the market and they're financing it over
See,
5 to 7 years.
So
Here's
gentlemen,
another one.
I need to jump in here.
Yeah.
The auto dealers are not financing this. The auto dealers are not doing the repossession. They may get the vehicle back. The lender who's lending the money is doing the.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the
So,
vertically integrated auto dealers have.
But let's talk about that for a second. What I'm talking about in people who are making these purchases at your traditional dealer for 80 months, and you're talking about in what you're describing as aggressive, the aggressive is not financing those vehicles for 80 months. They're financing them for 48 months. And that protects that weakened consumer much more than it does your average consumer who's going to get the hammer down on them here in about a year and a half.
Yeah, that's fair. But how about the guy that has or the gal, the crappy credit, and I know they made their own bed to get into that situation. That's buying.
But maybe not. Maybe they
Life
had
happens.
Life happens,
They had
right.
health insurance. In my case, an time of ungreat unpleasantness. So let's not point fingers
I'm not.
at that.
I'm just throwing a scenario
Okay.
out. That's buying the used car at the peak of the market at an interest rate that's almost equivalent to a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them do that.
Mhm.
And you know what hits the fan,
But they need to get to work.
and they cannot
have-
sell the car.
Yep.
They're underwater on it. They're still on the hook for that credit card debt that's on a car.
And ultimately,
And the taxes on the city is going up.
ultimately, this is going to impact everything we've been talking about because they won't be able to buy a home.
So I think that's more realistic. If you go into Haymarket and you look at, they've got Corvettes and Porsches and some super high-end stuff at these types of dealers.
Yeah.
In that market, those people who are overpaying for that, who can finance that, versus somebody who's going in and buying a vehicle between $8,000 and $14,000
So they can get to work.
so that they can get to work. That's financed at 48 months.
It's interesting.
No matter what the rate is, where 80% of their borrowers succeed the transaction, pay the vehicle off, improve their credit. 20% it's a bad story. I'm talking about the biggest impact being your average consumer going into anywhere, given what's happening with the used car market and how they are going to be affected.
And using their
18 months
vehicle
from
to go
now.
to work.
80-month loans on a $40,000 vehicle at whatever the rate is, especially as prime continues to go up, and those vehicles being cut in half, and they haven't paid anything into the principal.
Okay, so this comment's come in. Ask Scott what the problem is with some of these 6 or 7 year finance windows for vehicles.
Well, I think that's what
You're highlighting it right now.
I think that's
It's no different than having this 40-year conversation, right, on mortgages, right? Do we agree that that's a good thing or a bad thing? I personally think 40 years is a bit.
I think we live in a debt slave society, and the longer you extend these things out, the more trapped people are inside of them.
I get that, but I'm gonna play the contrast. I am trying to get to work, right? I need a vehicle to get to work. You're offering me 80%.
Yo, I'm a proponent of you do what you need to do.
You're a proponent of options.
Of options.
Yeah.
And if you've looked at it and said, look, I've been to this place, they won't give me a car. I've been to this place, they won't give me a car. I've been to this place, they
Right.
won't give me a
So
car.
part
And
of
this
the-
guy says he'll give it to me, but I'm going to pay 20% interest on it, but he's only going to make me pay it for 4 years.
Yeah.
So part of the problem is they don't have the trusted advisor in that environment that we have in our environment, right? They don't,
Well, part of the problem is going to be what he identified. If these people try to buy a home and the guy's saying you need to sell this home to get this house,
sell,
he ain't
sell
going to
the
be
car.
able to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Sell the car, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, and that's the reason I'm keep on bringing it back. So this could also, so what Scott is predicting, that
Which is, I think, is a great prediction.
it could impact the real estate business a little bit.
It's gonna. I think
At
it
a certain
affects
price point.
the overall U.S. economy at
Right.
in a lot of different levels.
Or what he's predicting is this is just going to further gentrify communities. I mean,
For-
that's what he's basically saying.
Well, the whole
Today's premium will be tomorrow's discount, Yonna Smith.
There you go, Mrs. Smith. Look at
She's
that.
dropping knowledge today. Yonna, you made us better today.
The comment or the discussion about personal property tax rates and assessed value.
I'm going to bring it up at.
That's a huge conversation to have because if you're taking a look at $300, that's roughly 25. If I did my math right, $25 a month added to that, but it's not a monthly payment. This is I've got to write that extra
as a check twice a year.
You got to write a $150 check twice a year.
When compounded with all the other KPIs we've talked about.
Got it.
Assessments, inflation, tax rate increase, yada, 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 yada.
As we usually go, we go a little bit, as the feeds come in, we have this great conversation. But you started this off about the first-time home buyer numbers. Do you mind if I rally back,
please.
to that? So we're looking at first-time home buyers, percentage of home buyers from 1981 to 2021. It's interesting. Around 1987 was the last time we were at 30% of the total sales, which is what we currently are right now. The highest was in 2010 at 50%. So we're actually been dropping since 2010 to 20. So the last 10 years, the percentage of first-time home buyers have been dropping on that end of it. The norm, according to NAR, is around 40%, and we've kind of hovered around that somewhere in the 90s, in the early 2000s.
I'd like to see that chart overlaid with a
mortgage
rental
rate.
rental cost.
Okay, it's on my to-do list, sir. So to track first-time home buyers versus rental and see how
because I can promise
changing.
you that in 2010, the cost to rent with all the
Way less than now.
Yeah, fractional.
Dramatically.
And now the cost to rent so high, the reason no one can go out and buy is because they're essentially trapped.
Well, Ally Property Management, Susan Riel will tell us about this. But Suzanne, thank you. To go ahead and do that, I was hoping to have her on Monday, but she had a grandkid, which is all good.
Congratulations. God bless.
I'm excited to see her.
I'm excited to see her, but she's going to talk about that in a future show coming up, the rental market.
Today's show is fantastic.
I love it when it takes a twist like
Yeah.
this.
Did not come.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. We did not come prepared to talk about that.
Not at all.
Yeah, and he's referencing Sixth Sense director.
Yeah. Or also
He's done a lot.
Glass, Mr. Glass,
Yeah,
like the whole.
That was a good one. What's he done recently? I think he's got a sitcom out.
I missed that. What are we talking about?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it's a sitcom, right? Doesn't he have a sitcom?
It would not be a sitcom if it's him.
Or not a sitcom, a series, a TV series.
Yeah.
On one
He
of the
does. It's
streaming
one of his
platforms.
horror kind of TV series thing.
Do we know what it's called?
Servants or something like that?
That's it. Servants. That's it.
There we go. Anything is fair game in this show.
Real
It is Servant. I'm looking right now, 25 episodes.
Look
All
at
right.
your photo shoot, brother.
Thank you. I'm
Congratulations,
excited.
by the way, again.
Yeah. You brought it today, Scott.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was thinking about, we were talking about shows. What is the, has anybody seen Peacemaker?
Oh, is it good?
Put it on your list.
What
It's funny.
What streaming platform?
It's funny you should say this. You are.
It's
I'll look it up.
probably HBO, but it's John Cena.
Yeah, it's HBO.
It's amazing.
Has anybody ever said you look a little bit like him?
No, I've never heard
He'll
that
take
before.
that.
I used to get
Your face does. The rest maybe not.
I used to get I used to get Matt Damon when I was young, but I'm
He'll
not.
take that.
You're not young,
I'm
and
not-
you're not Matt Damon.
He'll
But
take
no
that.
doubt.
Look at it. You have the same facial features as that.
Okay.
What is Peacemaker akin to a show out there that people may know?
It's a farce on.
I don't think
yeah.
there's anything. It's quite just
Yeah,
like
it's a
Okay,
farce
I'll
on
watch
the
it tonight
whole
with the wife.
superhero thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's a farce. Yeah.
Peacemaker. We got a new series. I'm putting it down. Scott Mortgage Morris brought it today. Keith Smith always brings it.
Thank you, sir.
This is Real Talk on a Wednesday, presented by Ross Mortgage. Ross Mortgage. You see the brands on screen, trusted names in the real estate supply chain. Judah Wickower kept us on point, and his ears really perked up with Peacemaker when that was it.
And he's smiling.
smirking.
Look at him.
I know, he's smirking like
I'm
that.
not expecting to hear anything about
You never know what you're going to hear.
Well,
on the
it was
show.
Peacemaker and personal property taxes.
That were the hot topics today.
We learned two things today.
We'll talk.
Which is more important, though? That's the.
We'll talk personal property taxes today, guys,
Yeah,
on
good
the
luck with
show
that.
because we need to get that out to the community. Thank you for joining us. You guys have a good morning. Take care. Very well done, amigos.